Hey, welcome to Define Tomorrow. My name's Sam Woodcock. I'm working for Ireland. I'm Senior Director of Cloud Strategy here. And I'm really happy to be providing this talk today on Microsoft 365 and whether you should back it up. And I think the resounding answer is yes. And so as we look at some of the content here, organizations really, like yourselves, are turning to Office 365 to really streamline employee productivity, enable communication, creation, and collaboration from anywhere. And that's more important than ever in the times that we find ourselves in. And the fact is, like yourselves, a lot of people use Microsoft 365 today, over 180 million 365 users. And actually, 1 in 5 corporate employees now use this service and rely on it on a daily basis. And the reality also is that business critical applications and data are no longer just in one place. So traditionally, maybe in the past, your data and your services have been on premises, running on VMware potentially. They've been in the cloud with providers such as Ireland. And also, as today, we're more and more consuming software as a service solutions such as Microsoft 365, but others such as G Suite, Cherwell, Mitel, and Salesforce, for example. And all of that mission critical data is spread across all of these different environments and cloud environments as well. And the reality is that a multi-layered data protection strategy is required, regardless of where your data sits. And what I mean by that is you need a strategy that allows you to prevent against things like security incidents that may impact your data and services, protect against those things, and ultimately have a solution that enables you to recover your data when you need to. Also, alongside this, obviously, it's the fact that you need curated technology to help in this strategy, but you also need a strong security culture, clear processes, and specialized expertise to allow you to take advantage of a full data protection strategy and allow you to recover when you need to as well. So we're talking about Microsoft 365 today, and we're going to talk about the roles, responsibilities, and retention policies, and what exactly does Microsoft back up within their environment. So what I've got on screen right now is Microsoft's shared responsibility model, and you'll find this on their website. So they're fully transparent with what they're looking after and what they expect you to look after from your perspective. So if you look at this slide here, Microsoft are really responsible primarily for the uptime of the service, the global infrastructure, the geo redundancy, and things like recycle bin functionality, security, and regulatory requirements. But they clearly state that your responsibility is your data, the access and control, the backup, and the data retention of that data. And so they place this squarely under your responsibility, and it's something as an organization you need to be aware of and have a strategy to make sure that your Microsoft 365 data is secure and protected within the Microsoft 365 environment. And 5 reasons why you need generally a backup solution, but also you need a 365 backup solution are the typical reasons you have looked to have a backup solution in the past for your on-premises workloads and systems. First of all, obviously, accidental deletion. There's many stories and use cases where people accidentally delete data, whether that's IT staff or staff working in your organization. And you need a strategy to enable you to get that data back and get that service back up and running. There's also retention gaps within certain solutions like Microsoft 365 that we're going to be talking about in greater detail here, that you need to make sure that you are retaining the data, again, for scenarios where you need to restore it. There's specific legal and compliance pieces to your organization where you need to make sure that you store data for a certain period of time, that you have certain granularity of data, and you need to adhere to specific compliance areas of your organization and services to operate as a business. And so it's important, again, to have a data protection strategy that enables you to have the ability to recover data when you need it. And I think everyone here attending the session has probably seen the countless stories on an ongoing basis in the news and social media, in your own internal organization around both internal security threats and external security threats. And the reality is these threats are growing constantly, and you're seeing data breaches and security incidents on a daily basis, if not weekly, for example. And so if we look at things like internal security threats, the common ones that we see as an organization are things like malicious insiders, people that want to leave the organization but do it harm as they do so. And they often have the permissions to do that. And so it's important if those incidents occur that you have a strategy, again, to recover the data that you need as an organization. And then obviously hackers, malicious activity on the outside, trying to hack and place ransomware and other things within your organization, these external security threats are constantly growing, constantly in action. And again, it's important to have a backup strategy for these as well. So you may ask the question, how often do these issues actually happen? Probably they're never going to happen, right? But it's interesting because when we worked with our partner Veeam, and they did a customer survey back in 2019 in September, they actually polled around 1,600 IT people within an organization, and they found actually 37% of those responders had actually seen user error or accidental deletion. It's the most common thing that actually happened in their organization. And again, it was important for them to have a strategy to prevent data loss in those incidents. You'll also see here security threats from malicious insiders, ransomware, and malware at 18%, and retention policy gaps, which means people thinking that they were protected, but actually there was a gap in terms of prevention and protection, was 19%. And 20% actually don't use that word, no data loss, right? So there's a lot of use cases where these things actually happen. And again, it's really important to have a backup strategy and a data protection strategy for your organization. So where does that leave you? Let's look at what is actually protected within Microsoft 365 and what we can do about this. So if we go on to this next slide, this is a summary of exactly what's retained within Microsoft 365 by default. And you'll see here things like deleted items, junky email, employees leaving the company, SharePoint and OneDrive files as well. And you can see by default things like junk email and employees leaving the company, which happen very frequently and may house critical data. After 1 month, that data could be permanently deleted within Microsoft 365. If you look at things like SharePoint and OneDrive, after a month, things are archived, but then after another couple of months, again, that data is permanently deleted. And so what happens if you, for example, then need to get that data back and it's been permanently deleted? And often, if you look at it, the average time to discover that there's actually an issue is around 140 days. So if you look at those default settings, only protecting between 30 and 90 days, but you take 140 days to actually discover there was an issue, whether that's accidental deletion or malicious activity, you're left without the data and no solution. But the good news is there's providers such as Island, for example, that provide backup services for Microsoft 365 that fill in some of these gaps that exist within the service. An example with us is that we actually back up this data on a daily basis and we store it indefinitely. So if you run into one of these issues and you discover it 140 days later, the good news is for both OneDrive, SharePoint, and all the other services within Microsoft 365, we're storing that data every day for an indefinite period of time, and you have the option to restore it when you need it. So we have some good news, and we're one of the solution providers that can provide the ability to provide a great data protection solution for your organization. And again, this is just a summary, right? We provide complete protection for your Microsoft 365 environment. So I did want to go into a little bit about the company here first, so you know who Island are. If you've not encountered us before, we've got a rich history in the IT services space. I did want to kind of summarize some of the highlights here. We've actually been delivering IT services for over 25 years in various forms. And actually for the last 12 years, Island has been focused on cloud compute and disaster recovery as a service and expertise in that space. So we've got a lot of expertise in data protection and cloud in general. We operate globally in 10 global regions. You'll see here services across North America, Canada, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Singapore, and then into Australia as well. So the thing that we do here is that we provide services like our Microsoft 365 backup service across the globe, so you can pick the right location for you. And adhere to specific data sovereignty requirements or the compliance requirements. So if you need to house your data in the UK, we have the choice of either Manchester or London in our cloud regions. So you can really make sure that you have the services where you need them. And then what we also do is every service that we offer has an 100% availability SLA. And so we make sure that the service is always on, always available to make sure that you're protected. And we have an SLA to back that up. What we also pride ourselves on is our support experience. So we actually have a 98% support satisfaction rating right now, plus 71 net promoter. And what we aim to do is right from the start of your journey, whether that's pre-sales, deployment, or support on an ongoing basis, we want to help you through the way to utilize this technology and service to actually achieve the outcomes that you're looking for. And so you can engage with our support team 24/7, 365 without any charge. And then our pre-sales team and our deployment team will actually engage to design and deploy the solution hand in hand with you as well. We also have a strong focus on security and compliance that I'll touch on as well briefly through the presentation. We make sure that the services are always compliant to your standards, and then make sure security is involved as well. And if you look at that 12 years of cloud experience, one of the things that we've been a standout leader on, and the thing most people actually know about Island about, is that we're a leader in data protection. And that goes back from 2015 and 2016. You'll see here a Gartner Magic Quadrant for disaster recovery as a service, for example. And as we cycle through the years from 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019, you'll see here Island in the top right-hand corner of this is a leader in the data protection and disaster recovery space, above other large-scale players in the industry. And we also work with people like Veeam as well. Hopefully, a lot of folks that I'm speaking to right now have used Veeam or are considering Veeam. We've actually been Veeam's Impact Partner of the Year for 4 years and an Innovation Award winner. And so we work hand in hand with Veeam as a software solution to provide that data protection for your 365 data. And data protection isn't the only thing that we do, right? We do protection and recovery with 365. We also do that for on-premises and physical and cloud-based workloads with our Veeam Cloud Connect service. We also offer disaster recovery as a service, so you can spin up your VMware-based virtual workloads in our cloud should you have a disaster, as well as services like object storage. And we also power innovation. We run mission-critical systems from infrastructure as a service perspective for large-scale software as a service providers and enterprises in the world as well. And again, a lot of attributes there, things like being global, secure, compliant, and supported along the way as well. So enough a little bit about Island. I did want to focus on 365 as a service. One of the things that we do is we want to simplify the experience. And that doesn't only mean simplifying it from a technology and a solution side, but also simplifying the experience from a cost and budget perspective. So with this service, you simply pay per user. And with that, you receive this unlimited protection, that daily backup. You don't need to think about anything else like bandwidth or servers or storage or compute or anything like that. It's simply based per user. And with that, we perform that automated daily backup every 24 hours. We store it again indefinitely with unlimited retention policies and unlimited storage quotas. So again, you don't have to think about what you need today from a storage side and what you need in the future. We take care of handling that. And also with this solution, and I think this is really critical to any backup solution, is that we provide multiple recovery options back into 365 directly, or also you can actually download that data back locally if you need to utilize it for discovery purposes or retention policies, for example. You can always get the data back, but also straight back into 365 as well. A quick high-level diagram of what we do here. Again, Microsoft 365 on the left with its Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams, for example. And what we do again is we take care of the automated daily backup. It's straight into Island, so there's no need for anything to run on premises or in another cloud. We run all of the back-end infrastructure and make it work. And again, we store all this in an unlimited encrypted storage. So from a security perspective, we're making sure it's always encrypted and secure within our environment. And then through our cloud console, which I'll demonstrate shortly, you can actually do powerful search and you can granularly recover data straight back into 365 with multiple recovery options. And again, no need to run anything locally to make this happen. So it's a completely software as a service-based solution for a software as a service with Microsoft 365, if that makes sense. So again, really nice, really simple to consume and utilize. If we look at some of the other pieces, I've already mentioned the in-flight and at-rest encryption. This is really critical for security and compliance. We've got that covered with the solution. Again, we support you throughout the entire journey and 24/7 365 support. You can actually get through to a tier 2 technician on the phone whenever you need to actually answer any questions. Again, we have a 100% availability SLA. And again, we're making this available globally. So regardless of where you consume 365, you can actually make sure that your data is away from that primary service, it's backed up securely, and we're adhering to our data sovereignty requirements as an organization. And I mentioned recovery, right? In my opinion, recovery is critical for a backup solution, and fast recovery is also critical, right? We want to make sure that you can get that data back for your users when you need it as quickly as possible. And so I'm not going to go into every single one of these based on time, but you'll see here across all of the services, we actually allow you to not only, again, export the data straight back into 365, but also bring that back locally. So you'll see with Exchange, we can bring that back or replace a copy or bring in a new copy to 365, but also you can save items as .message files or .pst files. And we often find that the .pst file option is a really useful one for organizations who maybe want to take a copy of a full user mailbox, bring that to their HR team and allow them to look at the data and find what they need as well. So it's really nice and portable for an organization. If we look at SharePoint, similar options here again, restoring straight back into 365 or storing different versions back to a prior version. Maybe your site needs to be restored. Also is important here is that you have granular restore. So you're not just restoring the entire site or the entire SharePoint service. You can restore just the site or just the object within that site that you need to get back. And again, you can export zip files and objects as files as well back to your local environment as well. And then OneDrive has a lot of options for restores, right? Again, from straight back to 365 to storing as a zip file, storing files or folders, getting that Teams data back that you rely on a daily basis, restoring specific prior versions, overwriting files and folders. Again, you have a full gamut of options here to make sure that you can restore your data back when you need it. So I just wanted to give you a high-level overview of all of the different restore options. I think there's over 20 different ways to restore your data when you need it. But rather than just talking through a bunch of slides, I did really want to give you a live demonstration of this console in action and show you the management, visibility, and control that you have within the iland console itself. So with that, I'm going to exit the presentation and go straight over to my Cloud Console, and I'm going to log into my environment. I've just got the password pre-stored here just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to log into my Cloud Console, and this is really iland's single unified interface to manage, control, and perform restores for 365. But this same console can be leveraged for other data protection solutions at the same time for your VMware on-premises environment, your cloud workloads, also to run mission-critical systems. So again, it's web-based, so you can access it from any device wherever you are. If we go to the top left, you'll see here I'm navigated into my 365 backup solution, but I can also see my secure cloud environment, my other backups, my object storage, any service I consume from iland. What you can also do is if you consume multiple services in different regions, rather than switching between different user interfaces, you can seamlessly switch between Amsterdam, Dallas, Virginia, for example, with a single click. So it's full single user interface into all of these services globally. Again, I'm logged into my 365 environment, and what I get is a dashboard. And this will show me how many licenses I have from iland. At the moment, I have 50. And how many of those licenses I'm consuming. So this is where I can get a handle on how many users are being backed up and whether I can back up any additional users. And again, you can always come to us if you need additional users backed up. We get a nice summary here. And you also see your Microsoft 365 organization that is being protected by iland, in this case, my iland Labs environment. And again, we've got 19 365 users here. I'm backing up 9 of them, so I could back up the rest of them if I need to, because I've got a number of licenses available to me. It will show me when I first backed up the data and when I last backed up the data. So again, a really nice quick at-a-glance view to the status of your protection. Now, if you do have multiple Microsoft 365 organizations, again, you can manage all of those through the single console and a single user interface. You'd see a list of the multiple organizations, if you have it, that are being protected by iland here. And what we also do is we provide a full audit trail of all of the user actions, the iland actions that are taking place within the environment. So you can see here, just as an example, my colleague, Nick King, he's actually been performing some restores this morning, and I have an ability to track that by IP address, action, and when it took place. And I can see also my other colleagues performed actions this morning. So we're keeping track of any time somebody performs a restore, somebody performs a backup, somebody modifies a backup, or whatever it may be, again, for your compliance and legal and security audits. All of these tables can be exported to CSV, so you've got this data locally for those audits. So we have full transparency and ability to get access to this data whenever you need to. On the dashboard, we also have this billing view that shows you your monthly costs. And again, it's very predictable because it's based on a user. And so you'll see here my bill is the same, my number of users, but as this may grow or change, you'll see the costs always on a monthly basis transparently through the cloud interface. Now, if I go back and I step into one of my organizations, what I have is a summary of what's going on with this organization. So you can see, typically we set up 3 jobs for an organization, one for their Exchange data, one for SharePoint, and one for OneDrive. And again, we see that the backups are happening on a daily basis. We see statistics on when it last ran and when it's next set to run, and whether it was successful or not, and whether there are any details we need to look at. So we get a quick at-a-glance view of the status of my backup jobs. And again, as we drill down into this organization, we also keep that restore session history, so we can keep track of any time we're performing restores into 365 or locally. And what we also get, if we scroll down, is a list of the users within 365 that I'm backing up and the users that I may not be backing up. So this is a quick way to actually validate, is the solution backing up everything I need to, or do I need to edit the policies and add additional users for backup? So it's really quick to get that view as to whether you need to add any additional protection, but also from an auditing perspective, give a report that will state that you're actually protecting the environment for the executive team, for example. And we do that across groups and users as well. So one of the things I also want to do is step into one of the jobs itself. So as we step into a job such as the OneDrive daily backup, you'll see again, we get statistics about it. We see the daily backups happening in a log, that it's been successful, how many items have been transferred, the duration of the job. And if we want to actually see a bit more detail, we have the ability to view all of the log items. So we can keep track of the success, anything that's happening with these backups. And again, it's fully auditable within the environment. So quick and easy to see the status of your backups. And again, Island run these automatically on a daily basis. But if you did want to run a point-in-time backup, for example, you're about to do some major changes to your 365 environment, you can always start a job at any point in time through the interface. We can click a button, and it will do a point-in-time backup for your organization. So really nice and easy. Now, what we also have is the ability to edit the schedule as well. So if you want it to be potentially more frequent than daily, we can do a periodical backup. So you can configure this through the Cloud Console yourself. You can set it to be very aggressive, or you can say maybe every 4 hours we'll do a backup. So you can really choose what works best from a policy perspective. And again, choose some things around backup, retries, and intervals as well. So really nice way to customize jobs if you need something specific for a set of users or a certain service within the organization. So really nice functionality there. Now, what I also wanted to finally show you, conscious of time, is really if we step into that OneDrive job again, we can kick off a restore session at any point in time through this interface. So for example, a user has lost their data. You want to restore that data, for example. You can go into the OneDrive Explorer, pick the point in time from that indefinite protection that works for you. Say, for example, November 10th. You can click Create, and what Island will do is then mount that data in the cloud and make it accessible through this user interface to actually explore and restore that data when you need it. So I'll kind of click over here and have a look here, and I'm going to just quickly refresh my interface and actually see that data is in place. So let me just do that. The restore session will have mounted. We'll be able to explore the data and get back to that when we need it. So just bear with me 1 second as we do that. Perfect. So what we'll do here is we'll click into the restore session that we've got in place, and you can see if we go to the OneDrive section, we're able to actually explore all of the user data that we've got. And we've only got a few users in my test environment. But simply, if we wanted to restore this entire user, Justin Giordino, back into the environment, we can, with one click restore to 365. We'd type the credentials, and we'd simply send it straight back to 365. Now, if, for example, we wanted to get a specific file, we can navigate into a user within OneDrive. We can see a list of all of the files that that user has and that's stored in that backup. For example, a super important financial report. What we can do is click export, and if we want to get that data locally, we can simply click download. That will download it as a zip file, and now we have the data locally. You can see really simple, really quick to get that data. The same process is true of restoring the data straight back into 365 as well. And this can be done for Exchange, it can be done for SharePoint. As we mount these restore sessions, we'll see full user trees. When we go into an inbox, for example, we'll see calendars and contacts and all of the Exchange items that you're interested in, and be able to navigate through those and restore that data straight back into the environment. So let's do that as we speak and see the Exchange restore and show you what we've got there. So if I go into Exchange and we pick a mailbox again, for example, Justin, we'll pick on Justin again, we can go into that user and we can restore the entire user back into 365. But if we wanted to get a specific item in, for example, his junk email, for example, we could navigate in there. Now, he doesn't have junk, which is good. So we'll go into the inbox and we'll find another email. And what we have is, again, the ability to export that specific item or store it straight back into 365. Again, we just type in the credentials and get that straight into the environment. The final thing I did want to quickly touch on is that as you're onboarding with Island, we'll help you set this up. We'll follow our best practices to make sure it works and is efficient as possible in getting that data initially to Island and then on an ongoing basis synced to Island. But we'll allow you to actually create additional organizations within the environment at all times. So if you do want to create additional protection, you have the ability to self-service, create those organizations, and set that initial connection between 365 and Island. You control that experience, control adding the password. I know that's really important, and getting those configurations set up within the organization. So that's really been a quick demonstration. We've got far more than this to show, and we really encourage folks to attend a one-on-one demonstration with Island and Computer World to actually see the full gamut of how we can protect your 365 organization. With that, I'm actually going to go straight back to the slides and just kind of finish off with a few final thoughts from my perspective. So really what we believe in is that 365 needs a backup solution. We saw the retention policy gaps, the shared responsibility model. So a 365 backup strategy is required, but also a backup and disaster recovery strategy is required, again, for regardless of where your data sits. So for on-premises VMware or Hyper-V-based environments, it's important to get a copy of those virtual machines off into the cloud, and we provide a great solution with our secure cloud backup with Veeam servers. Object storage is a great use case for archival and backup requirements. We plug into a lot of the major backup vendors' software, so you can utilize our object storage to archive and backup data from other backup providers. And again, we provide disaster recovery solutions with both Veeam and Zerto, to provide the ability to recover your environment back when you need it and have the compute to spin those resources up. And we believe we've kind of simplified the data protection use case. It's all managed through this single experience, this single platform, and this single provider as well. I did also want to put this quick customer quote up here. We work with a company called Benchmade Knives in the US. A nice use case here. We talked about the frequency of accidental deletion. They actually had a use case where a folder was accidentally deleted. And with the Island service in place, they were able to get that back up in 30 minutes and the employee was back in business working on that data. So we've got a case study. It's on our website. We'll love you to check that out and see how we helped that company with their 365 service. And the final thing that I would say is, if you'd like to see more, we actually have a specific area of our website. Island.com is our primary website, and island.com /EMEA 2020 Computer World Define Tomorrow, which is a very large URL. But if you click on that one, you'll find white papers that are available to download that give you more insight and information around all of our solutions, as well as a different array of free trials. So for things like our backup as a service solutions, we provide free trials. So you can get hands-on and identify whether this works for your business. So I'd really encourage you to take a look at this, but also reach out to your Computer World rep and actually maybe do a one-on-one demonstration or solution discovery session with Island and see how we can help you. But with that, I'm really happy to join you virtually for Define Tomorrow. I wish we were in person like we were in the past, but I really do hope you have a great session, great rest of the days, and really enjoy the event. It's a fantastic session. So thank you very much, and check out the URL.